You are watching Political Point Magazine. Where the right is right and the left, well, the left is always on the wrong side of history. Why? Because political minds want to know. So enjoy a conservative point of view. And let's talk pea soup. With tonight's top stories, the CNN Democratic debate. The Dems are old and out of touch. That's what we're talking about here. Yep. Oh, that debate was such a disgrace. And Obama changes course on Afghanistan. Oh yeah, you gotta hear about this one. And Trump and Bush feud over 9/11. That's kind of childish to me, I think. And the media speculates about Joe Biden. Is he in or is he out? I would say he's not going to jump in, guys. Just please forget it, alright? No. And now we'll talk about all this and more when we take it to you, the viewers. And take it to the phones. And tonight, I am your host, William Mitro. Alright, my friends. Yes. But thank you for tuning in here. Alright. And so, now we have our very, very first Democratic debate. Okay? Now, let's get it straight here. Okay? It's not Democratic. Okay? It's Democrat debate. Alright? But that debate, mind you, was the worst 2 hours of bad ideology I have ever heard and seen. Alright. Now, for one thing, all of the candidates on the Democratic side are all old. Okay. And so, when I start this segment off here, okay, now this is one thing I want people to understand. Alright. Okay. So we've had two debates, two Republican debates, two very good Republican debates. Alright. But I want you to notice something with the Democrat debates. And how all of this has been taking shape here. Alright, because now what we have here is the Democrats. Okay, I liked the Republican debates. Okay, well, technically we had 4 Republican debates. Okay, two with the bottom tier and 2 with the top tier. All right, but we had 4 Republican debates so far. All right, and there's a striking thing that I've noticed about the Democrats. Okay, the Democrats. Okay, the DNC refused one chairperson or staffer of the DNC, because she was making a fuss about how Debbie Wasserman Schultz wasn't having more Democratic debates. All right, so they told her, the person that was complaining, that she wasn't invited to the Democrat debate. All right. So this, I don't know, my friends. It's just ridiculous. But it seems to me that throughout the Democratic debate, all right, they tried to prop up the two front runners in their debate. Okay, this again was on CNN, right? Okay, so CNN did their Democrat debate, and mind you, my friends, this is the worst debate I have ever seen. Now, Donald Trump tweeted and watched the whole thing. Tweeted throughout the whole thing. So, there is a question of things. But tonight, my friends, I am going to bring up my segment on the Democrat debate with this. Democrats old and out of touch. That's right, my friends. Okay. And now we take you to the CNN Democratic debate. But the Democrats are old and out of touch. That's right. Okay. We had five candidates. All right. 5 candidates. All right. But here we go. This gets me started here. All right. But here we go. Okay. But the Democrats are old and out of touch. Okay. But for the CNN Democratic debate, here we go. Let's bring this up here. All right. Now, this was the first Democratic debate here. All right. But with that now, they definitely tried to prop up their. They definitely tried to prop up the two front runners. Okay, which okay, Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton. Right. Okay. Now, look at this picture though. Okay. Where's the pitchfork? This would be the perfect portrait. Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders right there. Okay. This would be called the American Pathetic. Yep. Just put the pitchfork in there. Yep. But anyhow, I want to watch in their intro, mind you. Okay, in their intro, this is how they introduced the Democratic debate. Take a look. All right.
In the heart of Las Vegas right now, a marquee event, a high-stakes clash of campaign rivals who have never gone head-to-head before. It's the Democrats' turn in the spotlight with the White House on the line.
We have to make Republicans pay a price at the polls.
If we stand together, there is nothing that we cannot accomplish.
Tonight, the first Democratic debate of this presidential race. It's a critical test for a party superstar who's been down this road before. Hillary Clinton, the frontrunner, facing questions about her record, her emails, and the strength of her support. The former Secretary of State says her enemies are up to their old tricks.
I won't get down in the mud with them.
Bernie Sanders, the surprise threat, gaining in the polls despite critics who doubt he can go the distance. The senator and self-proclaimed socialist says he's giving the Clinton camp a scare by rallying against the billionaire class.
Yes, we have the guts to take you on.
3 other political veterans are in the mix. Martin O'Malley, Jim Webb, and Lincoln Chafee have served in top elected offices, but they're struggling to get traction.
I know that it's a tough fight. I kind of like tough fights.
Now, the stage is set. for the Democrats to drive home their differences with each other and with Republicans.
We're going to rattle their amnesia and force them to acknowledge reality.
The other Republican candidates, they are just Trump without the pizzazz or the hair.
In an election season that's breaking all the rules, this night in Vegas could change the odds once again.
Notice how in their intro they gave more airtime to Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders. All right, that signifies that the other three candidates, Lincoln Chafee, Martin O'Malley, and Jim Webb. Jim Webb, I didn't even know was even in this race. All right, the other three candidates don't really have a chance. They don't really have a snowball's chance in hell in this race here. Okay, and they've been dying for the chance to the Democrats have been dying for the chance to get Joe Biden in there, but there was a little bit of a segment. Okay, now let me go over the candidates here, and as we go through them, okay, I want you to notice something that they all have in common. All right, they all. And it's in my subtext right here. Okay. Old and out of touch. Okay. We have more diversity on the Republican side, I assure you. Okay. But here we go. Okay. It's starting with Lincoln Chafee. Okay.
The candidates' experience, character, and vision for the future as they make this important decision. I'm the only one running for president that has been a mayor, a United States senator, and a governor. As mayor, I brought labor peace to my city and kept taxes down. I was reelected 3 times. As a senator, I earned a reputation for courageous votes against the Bush-Cheney tax cuts that favored the wealthy, against the tragedy of the Iraq War, for environmental stewardship, for protection of our civil liberties. I served on the Foreign Relations Committee, and I chaired the Middle East Subcommittee for 4 years. As governor, I came in at the depths of the recession, and we turned my state around. Rhode Island had the biggest drop of the unemployment rate over my 4 budgets of all but one state. Happens to be Nevada, where we're having this debate. I'm very proud that over my almost 30 years of public service, I have had no scandals.
That's obviously a stab at Hillary Clinton.
Hillary Clinton, I have been proud and privileged to serve as First Lady, as a senator from New York, and as Secretary of State. I'm the granddaughter of a factory worker and the grandmother of a wonderful 1-year-old child. And every day I think about what we need to do to make sure that opportunity is available, not just for her, but for all of our children. I have spent a very long time, my entire adult life, looking for ways to even the odds to help people have a chance to get ahead. And in particular, to find the ways for each child to live up to his or her God-given potential. I've traveled across our country over the last months listening and learning. And I've put forward specific plans about how we're going to create more good-paying jobs by investing in infrastructure and clean energy, by making it possible once again to invest in science and research, and taking the opportunity posed by climate change to grow our economy. At the center of my campaign is how we're going to raise wages. Yes, of course, raise the minimum wage, but we have to do so much more, including finding ways so that companies share profits with the workers who help to make them. And then we have to figure out how we're going to make the tax system a fairer one. Right now, the wealthy pay too little and the middle class pays too much.
And Hillary Clinton is paying nothing. she's just so out of touch here now, and you know, you know, just hearing her voice, just that screechy voice, is just man. And then there's Jim Webb, whom I didn't even know who was in the race. Okay, but
During the court.
People are disgusted with the way that money has corrupted our political process, intimidating incumbents and empowering Wall Street every day with the turnstile government that we see, and also the power of the financial sector in both parties. They're looking for a leader who understands how the system works, who has not been co-opted by it, and also who has a proven record of accomplishing different things. I have a record of working across the political aisle. I've also spent more than half of my professional life away from politics in the independent world of being an author, a journalist, and a sole proprietor. In government service, I fought and bled for our country in Vietnam as a Marine. I spent years as Assistant Secretary of Defense, Secretary of the Navy in the Reagan administration. In the Senate, I spoke about economic fairness and social justice from day one. I also wrote and passed the best piece of veterans education legislation in history, the post-9/11 GI Bill. I brought criminal justice reform out of the political shadows and into the national discussion. I led what later became called the strategic pivot to Asia, 2 years before President Obama was elected. I know where my loyalties are. My mother grew up in the poverty of East Arkansas, chopping cotton, picking strawberries. 3 of her 7 siblings died in childhood. My wife, Hung, came to this country as a refugee from war-torn Vietnam, learned English, a language that was not spoken at home, and earned her way into Cornell Law School. I have 5 daughters. Amy works with disabled veterans. Sarah is an emergency room nurse. Julia is a massage therapist. Emily and Georgia are still in school. My son Jim fought as an infantry Marine on the bloody streets of Ramadi. You may be sure that in a Webb administration, the highest priority will be the working people who every day go out and make this country stronger at home and who give us the right reputation and security overseas under a common sense foreign policy.
Okay, so now, what's with the hand, Mr. Webb? And I forgot to mention that Mr. Webb is also one of those Dixiecrats. You know that. You know the whole racial thing is just rampant with him, because in the debate he even said that he was for affirmative action, which, by the way, affirmative action did nothing to improve the racial relations. All right, it was simply a black quota law by the Democrats, which ended up alienating the black race. All right, but anyways, then there's Governor Martin O'Malley.
Baltimore, former governor of Maryland, a lifelong Democrat, and most importantly, a husband and a father. My wife Katie and I have 4 great kids, Grace and Tara, and William and Jack. And like you, there is nothing we wouldn't do to give them healthier and better lives. There are some things that I have learned to do better in life than others. And after 15 years of executive experience, I have learned how to be an effective leader. Whether it was raising the minimum wage, making our public schools the best in America, passing marriage equality, the DREAM Act, and comprehensive gun safety legislation, I have learned how to get things done because I am very clear about my principles. Thanks to President Obama, our country has come a long way since the Wall Street crash of 2008. Our country's doing better. We are creating jobs again. But we elected a president, not a magician. And there is urgent work.
Wait a minute. What? Excuse me? We elected a president, not a magician? I take offense to that. But anyhow, he praised President Obama? Are you kidding me? Mr. O'Malley, I think you have slight amnesia or something, because no, we're not creating jobs under Obama, okay? And the economy under Obama is not that great. Okay? In fact, what President Obama did was he expanded the welfare state, okay, and made a bunch of people lazy, right? He didn't create jobs, and if he did, they were part-time jobs. All right. Yeah. Things are not getting better under this president. Okay? And this guy is from Maryland. Okay? He was mayor of Baltimore, and then he was also governor of Maryland. Okay? Which, by the way, has the highest crime rate now because of the racial violence down there. And that happened because of his failed policies, by the way. All right. Oh my gosh, I just can't believe these old and out of touch Democrats. They just don't get it. Okay? And then there's the worst candidate up there, the Democratic Socialist, Bernie Sanders. Okay. Yes. Bernie Sanders, every time I looked at him, he just looked like he needed his medication. All right. Here's Bernie.
Americans understand that our country today faces a series of unprecedented crises. The middle class of this country for the last 40 years has been disappearing. Millions of Americans are working longer hours for lower wages, and yet almost all of the new income and wealth being created is going to the top 1%. As a result of this disastrous Citizens United Supreme Court decision, our campaign finance system is corrupt and is undermining American democracy. Millionaires and billionaires are pouring unbelievable sums of money into the political process in order to fund super PACs and to elect candidates who represent their interests, not the interests of working people. Today, the scientific community is virtually unanimous. Climate change is real, it is caused by human activity, and we have a moral responsibility to transform our energy system away from fossil fuel to energy efficiency and sustainable energy and leave this planet a habitable planet for our children and our grandchildren.
And Bernie Sanders is an old, disgruntled, delusional kook. Climate change is not real. Oh my goodness. Okay, climate change is not caused by man or human activity. Okay? I keep trying to tell people this. Okay? Climate change is just the weather. Global warming is a hoax. Alright? So now, let's get into more of the CNN Democratic debate. Alright. Let's see.
Democrats believe you changed your positions based on political expediency. You were against same-sex marriage, now you're for it. You defended President Obama's immigration policies, now you say they're too harsh. You supported his trade deal dozens of times. You even called it the gold standard. Now, suddenly last week, you're against it. Will you say anything to get elected?
Well, actually, I have been very consistent over the course of my entire life. I have always fought for the same values and principles, but like most human beings, including those of us who run for office, I do absorb new information. I do look at what's happening in the world. Take the trade deal. I did say when I was Secretary of State 3 years ago that I hoped it would be the gold standard. It was just finally negotiated last week. And in looking at it, it didn't meet my standards for more new good jobs for Americans, for raising wages for Americans. And I want to make sure that I can look into the eyes of any middle-class American and say, this will help raise your wages, and I concluded I could not.
Secretary Clinton, though, with all due respect, the question is really about political expediency. Just in July in New Hampshire, you told the crowd you, quote, take a backseat to no one when it comes to progressive values. Last month in Ohio, you said you plead guilty to, quote, being kind of moderate and center. Do you change your political identity based on who you're talking to?
No, I think that, like most people that I know, I have a range of views, but they are rooted in my values and my experience. And I don't take a backseat to anyone when it comes to progressive experience and progressive commitment. You know, when I left law school, my first job was with the Children's Defense Fund. And for all the years since, I have been focused on how we're going to unstack the deck and how we're going to make it possible for more people to have the experience I had, you know, to be able to come from a grandfather who was a factory worker, a father who was a small business person, and now asking the people of America to elect me president.
Just for the record, are you a progressive or are you a moderate?
I'm a progressive, but I'm a progressive who likes to get things done. And I know how to find common ground, and I know how to stand my ground, and I have proved that in every position that I've had, even dealing with Republicans who never had a good word to say about me, honestly. But we found ways to work together on everything from reforming foster care and adoption to the Children's Health Insurance Program, which insures 8 million kids. So I have a long history of getting things done rooted in the same values I've always had.
Senator Sanders, a Gallup poll says half the country would not put a socialist in the White House. You call yourself a democratic socialist. How can any kind of socialist win a general election in the United States?
Well, we're going to win because first we're going to explain what democratic socialism is. And what democratic socialism is about is saying that it is immoral and wrong that the top 1/10 of 1% in this country own almost 90%, own almost as much wealth as the bottom 90%. That it is wrong today in a rigged economy that 57% of all new income is going to the top 1%. That when you look around the world, you see every other major country providing health care to all people as a right, except the United States. You see every other major country saying to moms that when you have a baby, we're not going to separate you from your newborn baby because we are going to have medical and family paid leave like every other country.
We are going to have... Get it out, old man. Come on.
On earth. Those are some of the principles that I believe in, and I think we should look to countries like Denmark, like Sweden, and Norway, and learn from what they have accomplished for their working people.
Denmark is a country that has a population of 5.6 million people. The question is really about electability here, and that's what I'm trying to get at. The Republican Attack Act against you in a general election, it writes itself. You supported the Sandinistas in Nicaragua, you honeymooned in the Soviet Union, and just this weekend you said you're not a capitalist. Doesn't that ad write itself?
Well, first of all, let's look at the facts. The facts that are very simple. Republicans win when there is a low voter turnout.
No, that's not true. Okay. Republicans win when they have a great message. Okay. It's not low voter turnout. Okay. That's not true at all. Okay. Republicans won in a landslide in 2015 in the 2015 midterm or 2014 midterm elections. Okay, the Republicans won in a landslide when Reagan ran for president. Okay, so I don't know what he's talking about, you know, and the Republicans won in a landslide in 1994. Okay, you know, and that wasn't because of low voter turnout. It was because the Republicans had the better ideas. All right.
Happened last November. 63% of the American people didn't vote, Anderson. 80% of young people didn't vote. We are bringing out huge turnouts and creating excitement all over this country. Democrats at the White House on down will win when there is excitement and a large voter turnout, and that is what this campaign is doing.
You don't consider yourself a capitalist, though.
Do I consider myself part of the casino capitalist process by which so few have so much and so many have so little, by which Wall Street, greed and recklessness wreck this economy? No, I don't. I believe in a society where all people do well, not just a handful of billionaires.
No, it's not. It wasn't Wall Street that crashed the economy, okay? Now, Wall Street may have been part of it, but the main source of why the economy fell in 2008 was the subprime mortgage scandal, which was run through the Democrats in Congress, right? Okay, so Bernie Sanders, just doesn't get it. All right, it's just ridiculous. I mean, let me get to more topics here. Okay, because this is just ridiculous. Okay, listen to this.
To this person that killed their daughter, riddled her body with 5 bullets, and he didn't even ask where it was going. And not only did their case get thrown out of court, they were slapped with $200,000 in court fees because of the way that the NRA gets its way in our Congress, and we take a back seat.
That one was gun control.
Pass comprehensive gun safety legislation as a nation.
Senator Sanders, I want you to be able to respond. 30 seconds.
I think the governor gave a very good example about the weaknesses in that law, and I think we have to take another look at it. But here is the point, Governor. We can raise our voices, but I come from a rural state, and the views on gun control in rural states are different than in urban states, whether we like it or not. Our job is to bring people together around strong, common sense gun legislation. I think there is a vast majority in this country who want to do the right thing, and I intend to lead the country in bringing our people together on that issue.
Senator, it was not about rural. Senator, it was not about rural and urban.
Exactly about
Have you ever been to the Eastern Shore? Have you ever been to Western Maryland? We were able to pass this and still respect the hunting traditions of people who live in our rural areas. And we did it, Anderson, by leading with principle, not by pandering to the NRA and backing down to the NRA.
Voting record, I don't think I am pandering, but you have not been in the United States Congress.
Well, maybe that's a healthy thing.
Check it out. And if you think that we can simply go forward and pass something tomorrow without bringing people together, you are surely
Let me bring
mistaken.
in somebody who has a different viewpoint. Senator Webb, your rating from the NRA, you once had an A rating from the NRA.
Oh, it got a little heated in there. Sanders, you're shaking a little bit. I think you need your medication.
You said gun violence goes down when more people are allowed to carry guns. Would encouraging more people to be armed be part of your response to a mass shooting?
Look, there are 2 fundamental issues that are involved in this discussion, and we need to pay respect to both of them. The first is the issue of who should be kept from having guns and using firearms. And we have done not a good job on that. A lot of them are criminals, and a lot of the people who are getting killed are members of gangs inside our urban areas, and a lot of them are mentally incapacitated. In the shooting in Virginia Tech in 07, this individual had received medical care for mental illness from 3 different professionals who were not allowed to share the information. So we do need background checks. We need to keep the people who should not have guns away from them. But we have to respect the tradition in this country of people who want to defend themselves and their family from violence.
Senator?
There are people are going back and forth here for 10 minutes here. There are people at high levels in this government who have bodyguards 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The average American does not have that and deserves the right to be able to protect their family.
Governor Chafee, you have an F rating from the NRA. What do you think about what Senator Webb just said?
Yes, I have a good record of voting for common sense gun safety legislation, but the reality is, despite these tragedies that happen time and time again, when legislators step up to pass common sense gun safety legislation, the gun lobby moves in and tells the people they're coming to take away your guns. And they're successful at it. In Colorado and other states, the legislators that vote for common sense gun safety measures then get defeated. I even saw it in Rhode Island. So I would bring the gun lobby in and say, we've got to change this. Where can we find common ground? Wayne LaPierre from the NRA, whoever it is, the leaders. Come on, we've got to change this. We're not coming to take...
You know, notice that when they say common sense gun legislation, they're talking about gun control. Now, the one thing that they failed to realize and failed to mention is that every time that they've already tried gun control legislation and it failed. Okay. And also, if you look at the states that have the strictest gun laws, like in Illinois, Chicago, okay, they have the strictest gun laws, and they have the highest gun violence, and most of that is committed by blacks on other blacks. Okay, so the Democrats don't have the solution here. Okay, what's this one now?
That did change the relationship. We have to stand up to his bullying, and specifically in Syria, it is important.
The president is trying very hard to thread a tough needle here, and that is to support those people who are against Assad, against ISIS, without getting us on the ground there, and that's the direction I believe we should have to go.
But Senator Sanders, you didn't answer the question. Under what circumstances would you actually use force?
Well, obviously, I voted when President Clinton said, let's stop ethnic cleansing in Kosovo. I voted for that. I voted to make sure that Osama bin Laden was held accountable in Afghanistan when our country is threatened, or when our allies are threatened. I believe that we need coalitions to come together to address the major crises of this country. I do not...
Okay, well, now that, my friends, is just ridiculous. Okay, so on on that now, with the Democrats here, now the Democrats on foreign policy, they are just backwards, you know. Hillary Clinton wants to continue the sad, failed policies of Barack Obama, all right, because she was in his administration, all right, and if we blindly elect her as president, then my friends, you know, it'll be more of the same, okay. It'll be more of the same failed backwards foreign policy. The reset button in Russia turned out to be a reject button. Okay. And this is just what strikes me about the Democrats. They're just out of touch.
Under what circumstances would you actually use force?
Well, obviously, I voted when President Clinton said, let's stop ethnic cleansing in Kosovo. I voted for that. I voted to make sure that Osama bin Laden was held accountable in Afghanistan when our country is threatened, or when our allies are threatened. I believe that we need coalitions to come together to address the major crises of this country. I do not support the United States getting involved in unilateral action. Let's work with our allies.
I'm going to bring you all in on this. Governor O'Malley,
Anderson,
Secretary Clinton voted to authorize military force in Iraq, supported more troops in Afghanistan. As Secretary of State, she wanted to arm Syrian rebels and push for the bombing of Libya. Is she too quick to use military force?
Anderson, no president, no commander-in-chief should take the military option off the table, even if most of us would agree that it should be the last option. What disturbed people so much about, and I would agree with Senator Sanders on this, leading us into Iraq under false pretenses and telling us as a people that there were weapons of mass destruction there was one of the worst blunders in modern American history. But
now, here's where I take issue with this. Okay. Now, again, I have to inform everybody and educate everybody why we went into Iraq to begin with. Okay? Now, first off, we retaliated after 9/11. Okay? We retaliated. We went to Afghanistan. Okay? Now, there was a terrorist by the name of Abu Musab al-Zakari who was wounded on the battlefield in Afghanistan, whereupon he was sent by Osama bin Laden to Baghdad, Iraq. Okay? And he was greeted by Uday and Qusay Hussein, Saddam's sons. All right? Now, they ran a hospital in Baghdad, Iraq. Okay? Now, Saddam knew about this. Okay? And they treated Abu Musab al-Zakari. All right? Now, okay, if you listen to what Bush said, he said, we will attack the terrorists where they are so we don't have to fight them here at home. Okay? Then he said, we will go after those who harbor the terrorists. Okay? Saddam Hussein was harboring Abu Musab al-Zakari. Okay? Whereupon he got out of the hospital. Was treated in the Baghdad hospital. Okay? He got out, and then he started a terrorist training camp near Baghdad. Okay? And he started the chapter of Al-Qaeda in Iraq. Okay? So the terrorists were in Iraq before we went into Iraq, before we attacked Iraq. So we were attacking terrorists. Okay? It wasn't mainly about weapons of mass destruction. But by the way, we did find the weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. I've reported on this a dozen times on this show. Okay? In 2006, we found the weapons of mass destruction, chemical weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. Okay? And then the report said that these weapons were there in Iraq since before the first Gulf War. All right? And then there was a big article, a five-page article last year in the New York Times, mind you, saying that we found more chemical weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. All right? And it went in depth. It went back as far as the first finding of chemical weapons of mass destruction. These were the weapons of mass destruction that Bush was talking about that Saddam used on his own people. Okay? So we did find the weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. Let me move on to something else here. Okay, let me see.
National strategy of focus. The greatest strategic threat that we have right now is resolving our relationship with China. And
this is climate change. Oh my God.
The way they treat their own people. And I would say this. I've been waiting for 10 minutes. I will say this.
You're over your time, though.
Well, you've let a lot of people go over their time. I would say this.
You agreed to these debate rules.
To the unelected, authoritarian government of China, you do not own the South China Sea. You do not have the right.
Oh, wait. No, that's something else. But anyhow.
As a credible commander-in-chief.
Now, everybody makes their decisions, particularly when the time there is.
Then, Secretary Clinton, you are going to be testifying before Congress next week about your emails. For the last 8 months,
Here we go. Yeah, here we go.
You dismissed it, you joked about it, you called it a mistake. What does that say about your ability to handle far more challenging crises as president?
Well, I've taken responsibility for it. I did say it was a mistake. What I did was allowed by the State Department, but it wasn't the best choice. And I have been as transparent as I know to be, turning over 55,000 pages of my emails, asking that they be made public. And you're right, I am going to be testifying. I've been asking to testify for some time and to do it in public, which was not originally agreed to. But let's just take a minute here and point out that this committee is basically an arm of the Republican National Committee. It is a partisan vehicle, as admitted by the House Republican Majority Leader, Mr. McCarthy, to drive down my poll numbers.
No. That's not why the committee was formed. It was formed to get to the truth of the matter. Okay? And not to bring down your poll. McCarthy didn't imply that it was anything political. All right. We are getting to the bottom of this. And you are going to testify on Thursday. And we will get more.
And that's what they have attempted to do. I am still standing. I am happy to be part of this debate, and I intend to keep talking about the issues that matter to the American people. You know, I believe strongly that we need to be talking about what people talk to me about. Like, how are we going to make college affordable? How are we going to pay down student debt? How are we going to get health care for everybody and get the cost of prescription
Secretary
drugs
Clinton,
down?
with all due respect, it's a little hard. I mean, isn't it a little bit hard for you to call this just a partisan issue? There's an FBI investigation, and President Obama himself just 2 days ago said this is a legitimate issue.
Well, I never said it wasn't legitimate. I said that I have answered all the questions, and I will certainly be doing so again before this committee, but I think it would be...
No. You haven't answered all of the questions, Miss Clinton. All right. Remember, what difference does it make? No, you didn't answer the questions the first time. Okay. Now, and the part that I really liked about when they went after her on her emails, okay, was Bernie Sanders.
But I think the Secretary is right. And that is that the American people are sick and tired of hearing about your damn emails.
Thank you. Me too.
You know?
No, you're not. No, they're not. Okay, they still want to know that if you did anything wrong, okay, we will get to the bottom of it. Okay, now the thing that I really didn't appreciate was now there was this planted question here, okay, in this debate, and
go again.
University
As
Law
I said,
School. My question for the candidates is: do Black lives matter, or do all lives matter?
That is just freaking retarded. Okay, all lives matter. Now, take a listen to what okay, Bernie Sanders said Black lives matter. Okay, in fact, but the only candidate on that stage that said all lives matter was Jim Webb. Okay.
And
Yep. Okay. Now, now when they talked about climate change, and it just made me sick. They are just so out of touch. Okay. But then there was another topic that they talked about, which was marijuana. You know, and let me get to that one. Okay, because this one was very, very interesting. Okay, but let me see what we got here. Okay, yes. All right, let me see what I got here. But on this question, okay, it's quite interesting. Take a look.
Senator Sanders, right here in Nevada, there will be a measure to legalize recreational marijuana on the 2016 ballot. You said you smoked marijuana twice, didn't quite work for you. If you were a Nevada resident, how would you vote?
I suspect I would vote yes.
Oh man, I think he's high, really. Okay, and then Hillary Clinton. The answer from Hillary Clinton really shocked me. Okay, well I
You didn't smoke pot when you were young, and you're not going to start now. When asked about legalizing recreational marijuana, you told her, let's wait and see how it plays out in Colorado and Washington. It's been more than a year since you said that. Are you ready to take a position tonight?
No. I think that we have the opportunity through the states that are pursuing recreational marijuana to find out a lot more than we know today. I do support the use of medical marijuana, and I think even there we need to do a lot more research so that we know exactly how we're going to help people for whom medical marijuana provides relief. So,
now here's where I take another issue with them. Okay, now marijuana should never be legalized in any way, shape, or form. Okay, now there is proof that marijuana triggers psychosis. Okay, now I've talked about this before. There's a study in Australia that says marijuana triggers psychosis, and then it's backed up by another study from Germany that says that researchers assessed marijuana use during a 10-year study of 1,923 participants ages 14 to 24. Okay, those participants who had no psychotic symptoms and had never tried marijuana when the study began, and then started using marijuana, had nearly double the risk of experiencing psychotic symptoms in the future. Okay, and those who used marijuana before the start of the study and who continued to use over the study period had an increased risk of persistent psychotic symptoms. Okay, now and also there's another study out there that says marijuana, since it was in Colorado, since it has been legalized in marijuana in Colorado, the researchers found that fatal motor vehicle crashes in Colorado involving at least one driver who tested positive for marijuana accounted for 4.5% of the first 6 months of in 1994, but this percentage increased to 10% in at least in the last months of 2011. Okay, but they've noticed a significant increase in fatal car accidents. Okay, and then there's another study that says smoking pot makes teens stupid. Okay, now specifically, the study gave IQ tests to a group of 1,013-year-olds from the same from the town, and then again 25-year-olds 25 years later. Okay, and they were 38 years old. Between those two tests, they interviewed the subjects at age 18 about their habits, and those who stated that they were regular smokers by that age turned out to have an 8% drop in IQ. Okay, now so all of this, my friends, is coming up on the heels here. Now I don't have time to get into my other topics that I wanted to talk about. So on that note, my friends, and I'm sorry I can't get to the calls this time, but I want to get into something now. During the debates, Ben Carson and Donald Trump on the late night shows had something very significant to say about this. Okay, but I got to take it to the last words for the night. Okay, and the last words for the night here come from the late night.
The best in ethical standards.
Oh, wait a minute, man. Okay, the late night talk shows. Okay, so here we go. Okay, watch this. Okay. All right.
He just called Hillary on her emails. This is going to be good.
I think we need someone that has the best in ethical standards as our next president. That's how I feel.
Secretary Clinton, do you want to respond?
No.
Governor.
Yes, Queen. She just threw more shade than Chris Christie at the beach. That is a humorous comment, and I shall respond with laughter. By the way, can you believe Halloween is almost here? What are you going to be? Oh, my costume's great. It's a cross between a beloved cartoon character and one of my former patients. What is it? Sponge Brain SquarePants. Interesting. I'm going as Sexy Pizza Rat. You know, I can't believe no one's brought up my name yet. I had a whole drinking game planned where every time someone said Donald Trump, we would take a shot. I don't know. That's an awful lot of tequila for a Tuesday night.
And my friends, well, sorry about that. That's our show for tonight. We thank you for watching Political Point Magazine, where the right is right and the left is always on the wrong side of history. Follow me on Twitter and catch me on YouTube. Alright, once again, we thank you for watching Political Point, where the right is right and the left